right, we're here at my outdoor worm bin, and it's been about 15 days since we were in here last. And you can see around the edges, it's a little shallower, and that's because I took out 4 pounds of castings and sifted it before we started this video here. So the last time we were here, we did not give a traditional feeding. All we did was put in some regular compost to kind of supercharge this bin and add more microbes and microbiome to it. So let's go ahead and dig in and see how what we had left over is doing. And part of that was a banana stalk that should be right here in the middle. And you know, some of the avocado shells and mango pits and maybe some of the banana peels that we were seeing. And here's an avocado shell. Let's see if there's a bunch of worms in here. And sure enough, after 15 days, they still like to go in those avocado shells. I love when I see that. Here's another one. And you know, we didn't pile this full of bedding or castings. They just kind of bring it in there. And sure enough, another bunch of worms in there. So let's go ahead and dig in and see how they're doing. One of the things I want to do is make sure that we get all throughout the edges and on the bottom. And oh yeah, check that out. Here is that banana stalk. And sure enough, they have gotten through most of it, all in the edges, and they've eaten out the center. The center is where the banana flower itself kind of grows up through, and they are in every little crevice of this banana plant stalk. They really are enjoying it. Let's go ahead and kind of take this apart a little bit. Almost like corrugated cardboard to me. They kind of go in all the edges and kind of bury themselves or dig themselves in there. Let's see if I can find the remainder of it. It really, there is not much left of it compared to where we were 15 days ago. I'm gonna try and put all the pieces of it right here. Wow, look at that. So cool. This must be the inner part because it is super fibrous and almost like spongy. They've really eaten throughout that part. But let's kind of bring what we can find. This is all that's left of that banana plant. So they did a pretty good job. So if you have banana stalks, banana trees, you can cut them up and put them in your worm bin and they will eat them up, no problem. So let's go ahead and keep on digging in here and see how the other stuff is gone. I'll just kind of, again, come through the center. And I think this right here is some more of that kombucha SCOBY. It's shrinking and they are attacking it. So I don't know how long this is gonna take, but they're gonna keep working on it for me. And then we've got some mango seeds. And this one looks like it could open up. And let's see what we have inside here. Oh, wow. It's like a cocoon nursery in here. There are just tons of babies all throughout. And look at that. They are getting into the portion of the seed that has all the nutrition for the new plant that grows. So that must be particularly good eating for them. And this right here is a black soldier fly larvae. Kind of looks weird and gross, but right there is a black soldier fly larvae that is really gaining a lot of girth to it. It was probably tiny when it was laid and found this area of high nutrition, and it is eating really well. Let's go ahead and put that to the side and keep on digging in here. Oh my gosh, check this out. This is from the very bottom. So I think because since the worms have eaten most of the food that was in here, they're just kind of going down maybe to where it's cooler because it's summer here in Florida, and just gonna eat all the little remains of bedding and food that's probably made its way down there. So this is pretty cool. Usually I find the worms surrounding the food, but since they've eaten most of it, it looks like they're going all throughout the bin. So I'm just gonna kind of dig through and let's look and see what we got. Check that out, look at that. Just look at hundreds and hundreds of worms just from digging from the side and kind of pulling them up. There's just a bunch of worms right here. This is great, and these are fantastic castings. I pulled 4 pounds of castings out before we even started this, and next week I'll probably be able to pull out 4 more as I'm kind of mixing this around and aerating it. And we're finding a lot of these avocado seeds, and right in here I'm seeing some little ones. Let me try and kind of smush it open. There's a baby right there and another baby right there. Let me kind of bring it up to show you. Pretty cool. Couple of babies. So we'll put those over here. Oh, I love it. I love all these worms. And you know what this is? This is a pine cone. This has been in here for a million years, I think, probably from the dinosaurs. Actually, I think it has been over a year. I'll put the date of when we put in a pine cone last. Another kombucha SCOBY right there, definitely thinner, getting smaller, and worms on it, so that's a good thing. Here's another mango seed. Let me open it up and see if we're gonna find the same thing, kind of really tiny worms in here. Gonna open it up. Got the cotyledon inside, the seed leaf, and then the nutritious part of it. Bunch of little baby worms again. And sure enough, it's really wet inside here. So perfect combination of food and moisture for these worms. And right in there, you can see just a bunch of worms. I'll kind of leave them undisturbed here. Bin is absolutely populating, which is expected in the springtime. I definitely find that my worms kind of have population explosions, both in the outdoor bin and in my 2 other indoor bins. And I've got a worm tower and then a tiny worm bin. If you wanna check out my other bins, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe, and you'll get notified if you hit that bell icon for when I do other videos in my other bins. But let's go ahead and set this stuff over here down in the bottom after we lay down some bedding. And the bedding we're gonna use is some of this bedding that I got as I was sifting. So I'm just gonna dump this in along with these mango seeds that we have here. And what I found was at the edges where it's slightly drier, there was more bedding. And that's probably because within the center, it's more moist and they're able to get to the bedding and kind of eat it along with the food scraps. So I'm gonna add a little bit more fresh bedding as well. And I think it's important every time you feed that you should also add bedding, because bedding is food. And let's go ahead and see what we're gonna feed them. Since they hadn't had food scraps last time, all they had was regular compost and some coffee grounds and some pulverized eggshells. They're gonna get an enormous feeding here. So let's go ahead and dump it in. And we'll add some more there. And what this consists of is a banana, a whole banana, which we saw there. And I'm actually gonna make sure I break it open so that they've got access to it right away. And then some garden scraps that we have and a lot of strawberries. Here's that banana, so let's just kind of puncture it so they can get to it. And lots of strawberries, carrots, just kind of a hodgepodge of things from the garden. And then we have a bunch of potato peels right here. So I'm gonna kind of break them apart. Now, all my food I freeze first, and what that does is it helps to break down the cell walls in the plant by kind of bursting them. Water expands when it freezes, so that helps to kind of degrade the plant material that I'm putting in here. And I just want to mention real quick, I have probably 5,000 to 6,000 worms in here. So this is an enormous amount of food. If you have about 100 red wigglers or 500 or even 1,000, you really need to cut this down. For 100, you're looking at maybe that much, something like that. 500, you're talking about, maybe something like that. And then when you get to the 1,000 to 2,000, something like this, and then 5,000, this much food scraps. And that's for feeding once a week. That's about how often I feed this bin, although it has been 2 weeks since we fed last. So let's go ahead and put this stuff on top. And this is the old stuff. I actually meant to put it down further below, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and add that there. And I did let this thaw a little bit, so no worms should have any issues there. And then let's add our amendments. We've got a couple worms right there, but they're not gonna mind this. The first amendment that we add is pulverized oats. And that's just because we went through the pantry and found some expired oats, which were actually 4 years expired, embarrassingly enough. But if you've got any kind of dried grains in your pantry, go ahead and blend them up and you can add them to your bin. And then we've got some coffee grounds. This is just used coffee grounds that we add. It's just another food source for them that they seem to enjoy. And then finally I add grit, and my form of grit is just pulverized eggshells, again, that I just put in a little magic bullet blender. I've actually got affiliate links if you don't have one and you're looking at prices or want to buy one. Worms have gizzards and they use it to grind their food up, so a little helping of this is always good for them, and it's also good for the garden. And now we're gonna cover up the feeding, but something else we're gonna do is, because I took out castings and sifted them, I have a lot of worms that kind of came out of the sifting process. Let me put this underneath. Didn't do a really good job of putting that underneath, so I'm just gonna kind of bury it. That was the banana stalk. But anyway, we've gathered about maybe, I don't know, a couple hundred worms, and we're gonna put them on top for a worm time lapse. So let me kind of get set up here, and then we'll release them. All right, so here's the worms in this container, and we'll add that to the worms that are already on top because this bin is just so full. So here we go. I think most of them have made it in, so that will about do it. So I hope everybody's having a great day, and happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.